Lecture 6, Self-Therapy. Overview. Our last lecture is dedicated to dive deeper into the origin of anxiety and get a full picture of how it developed. I will also talk about the mistakes that sufferers make that cause anxiety to return or prevent full recovery. Lastly, you'll learn what role you play in your anxiety disorder and how you can change it. Discomfort as a motivation. Once you start having anxiety disorder, the first objective isn't to recover. Your first and foremost objective is to learn how to reduce the discomfort. However, some sufferers believe that learning the tools that help you reach relative comfort zone is the final destination. This is far from truth, and exactly why most people end up having anxiety disorder after they think they have recovered. The truth is, once the discomfort is gone, you have a chance if you want to keep working on your anxious thoughts and behaviors or leave them unaddressed until your anxiety level goes back up again. The decision to continue working on yourself after ending the discomfort of anxiety disorder is completely up to you. But if you are determined to settle for nothing less than a full recovery, then I highly recommend you to work on your deeply held fears and beliefs. Temporary recovery. The moment your symptoms are no longer there, you start feeling as if you are free at last. It'll be definitely true at first because the hell you've been going through is finally over. However, you'll quickly get used to absence of symptoms and different set of issues will come to surface. You'll start noticing subtle beliefs that cause you tension. Need to always please others and meet their expectations. Be very self-demanding. Feel like you must be successful. Find it hard to say no to others. Feel like you're not living the life you want. Inability to speak for yourself. Inability to be fully independent. Difficulty bearing uncertainty and discomfort. These subtle beliefs won't make you feel symptoms, but they will create a lot of tension that will lead to emotional suffering and could gradually lead back to anxiety disorder. Noticing this tension is the first step in realizing that your anxiety issue is much deeper than you thought. Growing up with anxiety. It all starts in childhood. From birth to around 1 year old, child's main needs are the mother's care and support. From 2 to 3 years old, child develops identity and starts actively using the pronoun I. By the age 7 or 8, 80% of child's personality is formed, equipping him with all the beliefs, rules, and strategies that will shape his life. Of course, it doesn't mean that the person has no power to change his personality later in life. Depending on the will and desire to do something about this issue, everyone can significantly improve their anxious character by removing the most crippling and dysfunctional beliefs and strategies that cause inner tension. Child's basic needs: safety, unconditional acceptance, and autonomy. The period when child's personality is formed is extremely important because this is when anxious tendencies are adopted. During this period, the child has 3 basic needs that he needs his parents to provide. They are safety or protection, unconditional acceptance or love, and autonomy or independence. For most parents, safety is usually not an issue. Unconditional acceptance and autonomy is where most parents fail due to their own upbringing that causes them to develop a lot of insecurities. For example, parents may be surprised when a child suddenly becomes hard to deal with. The parents may then blame everything on the child and be completely blind to the fact that the child never felt loved in the first place. They have failed to unconditionally accept him in the following ways. When they compared him to other kids, yelled at him for doing something wrong, failed to show love and affection when it mattered, and even made him feel less safe by occasionally getting angry. Lastly, need for autonomy or individuality is essential for a child to develop healthy self-esteem and strong character. It manifests when a child starts saying things like, "I can't do it myself," or "it's mine." Parents that have no idea how the brain works We start blaming everything on the child for being too confident, making him feel guilty for making mistakes, damaging his confidence, and destroying his personality. In addition, controlling and overprotective parents are the worst enemies of a child's autonomy because they raise children that are incapable of adapting to life and gaining independence. But it's important to keep in mind that no parent is perfect and everyone has something to work on. But perfectionism will only make things worse because it could lead to controlling and overprotectiveness. So try to do things the right way without attempting to become an ideal person or parent. Deeply held beliefs. During personality development period, your natural tendency is to fulfill your basic emotional needs. For example, if your parents fail to accept you unconditionally for something you did wrong, you start feeling unloved and try different ways to gain acceptance. So in order for your parents to accept you, you start forming certain behaviors and strategies to please them. These new working behaviors and strategies then become beliefs. And if they prove to be working consistently, they become deeply held beliefs that you would possibly carry for the rest of your life. There are two kinds of deeply held beliefs: helplessness and rejection. Deeply held beliefs of helplessness. I'm helpless. I'm good for nothing. I'm weak. I'm a loser. I'm not in control. I'm worthless. I'm vulnerable. No one respects me. I need help and support. There's something wrong with me. I'm not like everyone else. I'm trapped. I'm not good enough. Deeply held beliefs of rejection. I'm not loved. I'm useless. I'm not good looking. There's something wrong with me. No one likes me. No one wants to be with me. I'm destined to be rejected. No one cares about me. I'm destined to be abandoned. I'm bad. I'm destined to suffer in isolation. Living with these deeply held beliefs is very hard for a child. So in order to satisfy his emotional needs for security and acceptance, he starts to please his parents. He develops a set of rules that he must follow in order to feel safe and gain acceptance, which makes him very demanding on himself. Set of rules. Here's a small sample of rules a child may develop in order to feel safe and accepted. I'm good if I'm strong. I'm bad if I'm weak. I'm good if I'm the best. I'm bad if I'm the worst. I'm good if I'm liked. I'm bad if I'm not liked. I'm good if I'm useful. I'm bad if I'm not useful. I'm good if I make others happy. I'm bad if I live for myself. I'm good if I'm quiet. I'm bad if I draw attention. I'm good if I work a lot. I'm bad if I work less. Adults' basic needs: survival, reproduction, domination. As we become adults and mature, so do our needs. Need for safety, unconditional acceptance, and autonomy now become survival, food, shelter, sense of belonging; reproduction, sex for procreation, not for pleasure; and domination, gaining recognition through created value. But at the core, your needs still remain the same because your deeply held beliefs still make you crave your childhood needs for safety, unconditional acceptance, and autonomy. So you grow up holding onto your childhood strategies that no longer work in adulthood, and as a result, your deeply held beliefs cause you a lot of inner tension, making your anxiety level increase. If you analyze your relationships with yourself, others, and your work, you'll find out that you have a lot of anger, grievance, guilt, shame, and anxiety in them. All of these feelings are directly linked to your childhood's deeply held beliefs. For example, as a child, it was easy to gain acceptance. All it took was to get a good grade to please your parents. However, when you grow up, gaining acceptance becomes harder. Today's widely accepted indication of success is net worth. So in order to feel accepted by others, you join a rat race and never seem to be satisfied because there's always someone who's doing better than you. It's important to know that there is nothing wrong with being successful at your craft. It becomes an anxiety problem only when your happiness and confidence are built entirely around your social status or wealth, and you feel devastated the moment you lose it all. Programmed brain. Essentially, your brain is programmed to operate in a way it was shaped in your childhood. Brain programming is a combination of deeply held beliefs about yourself that you follow without questioning. Your programming determines what decisions you are most likely to make in life and how you will react in different situations. In other words, you're not in charge of your decisions. All of your decisions are made through your deeply held beliefs and a set of rules you have developed as a result of them. When you're jealous of someone, when you try to please someone, or when you gossip about someone, it's not you who makes the decisions, but your programmed brain. So the moment I accept as a child that I'm weak, this belief becomes part of my personality. And when I grow up, I use the same strategies that worked in childhood, like quickly get offended so the offender feels guilty. Try to prove something to others to show that I'm not weak. Pretend to be sick to avoid responsibility that could make me appear weak. Needless to say, these strategies are just not working in adulthood, and your programmed brain becomes your worst enemy, leading you to anxiety disorder, depression, and constant worry. From tension to symptoms. Once your anxiety level increases, so does tension in your body. Tension is a sum of anger and anxiety. Anger comes as a result of being too demanding either on yourself or on others and causes a lot of inner tension. Anxiety comes as a result of different things like not being in control while your deeply held beliefs command you to be in control of everything. Tension manifests in two ways, bodily and emotionally. All the symptoms you feel and fear when you have health anxiety are coming from constant inner tension that are fueled with your anger and anxiety. As a result of unbearable physical discomfort, you develop second layer of anxiety through coping strategies and avoidance behaviors that further strengthen your anxiety and get you into a vicious cycle of anxiety disorder. Second layer of anxiety develops when you start focusing on the problem by dwelling on thoughts like, I will never get better, anxiety makes me feel horrible, I'm never going to recover, symptoms are unbearable. Think of a person who loses a leg. His life will never improve if he chooses to focus on the problem instead of accepting the fact and focusing on the solution. The only difference is you didn't lose a leg. You just need to focus on the solution. Anxiety disorder is an emotional problem. If you still think that your symptoms appear out of nowhere, then you have to look back to your past and notice small signs of anxiety in the form of occasional physical discomfort, mild or prolonged depression, feeling of emptiness and loneliness. Combination of these small signs eventually led you to the current state of high anxiety. Other people who live with high anxiety but don't get trapped into the cycle of anxiety disorder because they don't develop fear of symptoms usually tend to develop addictions by abusing alcohol, drugs, food, video games, and pornography in order to ease the tension. Know that almost all of these addictions also require recovery, but in comparison to anxiety disorder, most of them actually cause real damage to your body. Anxiety disorder is an emotional problem. Emotions like shame, guilt, anger, and anxiety create inner tension that leads to physical symptoms. Therefore, you can't fully recover from anxiety disorder if you only treat the symptoms, because the real issue lies in your emotions. Anxiety disorder diagram. Anxiety disorder starts forming with a character you develop in your childhood that has dysfunctional beliefs and set of rules that create inner tension as you grow up. Tension in turn increases anxiety level, and with higher level of anxiety you start experiencing symptoms. The moment you interpret those symptoms as threatening, you enter a cycle of anxiety disorder. The way out of anxiety disorder is to go backwards on this diagram. First, you have to work on your symptoms by processing and facing your fears. This will reduce your anxiety level. Then, you have to remove tension by changing your anxious behaviors, which will eventually change your character. How behavior is formed. In order to understand how behavior is formed, we'll use the CBT or cognitive behavioral therapy model, which is by far the most effective approach in changing human behavior. Here's how the model works. First, you have a situation, which is followed by thought, emotion, and reaction that could be behavioral and physical. For example, you're on a bus and your heart skips a beat. First thought that may come up to your mind is, what if it's a sign of a heart attack? That thought is immediately followed by emotions of fear and anxiety. You storm out of the bus, behavior, as your heart rate increases, physical reaction, creating more anxious thoughts and scenarios. Or let's take example outside of anxiety disorder. If someone cuts you on the road, you may say or think, what an idiot. It makes you angry to the point that you will need some time to calm down. You may even try to catch up with that person and tell him how you really feel, which will make you even more tense. In both of these instances, the problem lies in the inner dialogue towards the situation. In the first case, someone may have interpreted the symptom as something not significant and went on with his day. In the second case, someone may have said, what an idiot, and continued driving without reacting to his follow-up thoughts. Inner dialogue. If you pay close attention, every situation is followed by inner dialogue. Inner dialogue is a self-talk running in your head that determines what decision is best in any given situation. It's important to know that inner dialogue isn't something we're born with. We develop it as we grow up and as we form different behaviors. Therefore, it can be changed. Here's how CBT model can explain how we form inner dialogue. A situation triggers a thought triggers an emotion produces a reaction that could be physical and behavioral. 3 CBT insights. In order to apply CBT model effectively, you have to accept the following 3 insights. First, situations lead to emotional and behavioral reaction. The way to understand these reactions is through observing your thoughts. Second, your dysfunctional thoughts, beliefs, and behaviors come from the past, but you keep unconsciously perpetuating them in the present. Third, having insights isn't enough. You must continuously observe, question, and challenge your dysfunctional thoughts, beliefs, and behaviors. Keep in mind that this is a stage where you must be in constant state of self-development. 3 types of thoughts. We all have 3 types of thoughts that form our behaviors. Core beliefs, key ideas about relationships with yourself, others, and work. Assumptions, rules, biases, and strategies. Automatic thoughts, thoughts you have in response to things happening to you or around you. For example, I immediately have an automatic thought that I'm a loser if I fail at something. Automatic thoughts are a result of assumptions, rules, biases, and strategies. For example, when someone cuts you in a line at a supermarket, your automatic thought could be, what an asshole, and that thought will lead to anger. But what you may fail to realize immediately is that you got angry not because of that person, but because of your assumption that people have to act a certain way in this given situation. Following diagram will show how to spot automatic thoughts. Your core beliefs create assumptions that are triggered by situations and lead to automatic thoughts that result in your reaction. Assumptions versus core beliefs. The difference between assumptions and core beliefs is that core beliefs are deeply held ideas like I'm weak or I'm worthless, while assumptions are a set of rules, biases, and strategies that help you cope with these ideas. For example, if you have a core belief I'm a loser, your assumption will be to prove others wrong by achieving something. It's important to see the difference between achieving something with core belief I'm a loser and without it. When you achieve something motivated by your core belief, your confidence and happiness will last as long as you have that what you worked for. Once it's gone, so is your confidence and happiness. Transforming yourself. In order to change your core beliefs, first thing to do is to identify your automatic thoughts and change them by questioning them. As you change your automatic thoughts, you'll start identifying your assumptions and change them as well. Finally, changing your assumptions will lead you to your core beliefs that will help you transform your personality. For example, you get frustrated by automatic thoughts, "I'll never recover," whenever you feel the symptoms. Once you identify your automatic thought, you should start questioning it. Am I really not going to recover? I have already made a significant progress. Questioning your automatic thought will help you reveal your assumption, or how you cope with your automatic thought. Assumptions are changed with questions like, "Am I worsening my anxiety by getting frustrated?" As you question your assumptions and take needed steps to stop getting frustrated, your tension and unnecessary emotions will drop, finally revealing to you your core belief, which could be, "I'm weak." All you have to do then is stop fueling your core belief with automatic thoughts and assumptions in order to transform your personality.